Trevor with Life-Based Solutions, here to present a Carbohydrate Masterclass. We're going to have fun talking tonight about all things carbohydrates.
Thank you, Trevor, for jumping into this event. We've been waiting for it for a while, and I'm glad that you was able to do that. We are all ears and waiting for you to start. Let's go.
Thanks. I kind of jumped the gun there a little bit. So, guys, I'm excited for tonight. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Trevor with Life-Based Solutions. We are a nutrition software company. You'll learn a little bit about me during this presentation and my role at the company, how I got my start in nutrition. But tonight, we're going to talk all things carbohydrates. Going into this, understanding that we have people that are brand new to nutrition, that are trying to wrap their head around everything diabetes and things along those lines. We'll keep some things very basic, hopefully can communicate in some very simple terms, but we will dive into some things that are maybe a little bit more advanced topics. So I encourage you, if you can, do a couple things here. Grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, or at the very least have your phone out to take some notes, some things along those lines, but shut your door, kind of zone in and get ready for some good information here for the next 45 minutes or so. And then I'll be watching for the comments, and I'll be able to reply to you guys even after this live presentation is done. So if you want to get a hold of me when we're done tonight, feel free to send me an email at trevor@lifebasedsolutions.com, or you can even check out our website at just Life-Based Solutions. So tonight we're going to dive into carbohydrates. So I'm going to share my screen with everybody, and we're going to rock and roll here. All right. So we are going to call this a master class, the idea that it's just everything about carbohydrates, from learning how to control blood sugar to increasing your energy levels and reducing body fat, and being able to do all that while eating carbohydrates. So let's dive in. In tonight's presentation, I'm going to help everybody understand carbohydrates and the role that they play in the body. So my promise is for you that I'm going to show you how to flip your mindset about food and understand why carbs are okay. I want to be clear, the things that I share with you tonight, they're going to take some work, and they will probably require a new way of thinking for most people. The cool part is this works for people of any age, any demographic, any fitness level. And being a part of this group for a while, I realized that you sometimes feel overwhelmed, maybe like you don't have all the answers, and that's totally fine. Don't expect to have all the answers, and it's always going to be a learning process. Most people do struggle with nutrition on some level, so knowing where to start, what to do, and why we do things is going to guide you in the right direction. And I'm going to give you the exact blueprint to success. Now, I know this works because I've used the same principles to help hundreds of people personally conquer their health. And very humbly, I think this is what separates me from everyone else in my field, allows me to do things that I love to do, and that's help people get healthy and work on nutrition and fitness in their lives. So for the better part of the last decade, I've personally coached thousands of people all across the United States, but in my gym, we've had over 700 nutrition clients. I do own a CrossFit gym where you've had thousands of people walk through the doors who work with people ages 7 all the way up to 70. And more recently, through Life-Based Solutions, we've helped dozens of other business owners grow nutrition programs. So this is where I started. My background started in my mom's garage, then a small warehouse with a gym. And today we build a much larger gym. Through that process, we developed Be Elite Nutrition. This is our nutrition coaching service here in Kearney, Nebraska, where I personally had over 700 nutrition clients. In the last year, I helped author 3 nutrition courses with our registered dietitian, Brett. We have a student course, an adult course, and then a business course, and became part owner of Life-Based Solutions. So kind of bringing everything full circle, I want you to know that you're in good hands. This is stuff that I think I'll be able to communicate to you in a simple and fun manner from experience and not just theory on how things work. And the good news is you guys don't have to be in great shape. You don't have to have a ton of experience or know exactly what to do when it comes to health and wellness. And by no means do you need to be an expert in anything. We've hacked the 3 keys to success And I'm going to share those things with you here tonight. All right, so keeping all that in mind, let's dive in and let's get started. So if you want to write these things down, this would be a great place to start. Maybe take some notes. These are the 3 keys. Education is first. Being healthy starts by understanding how and why we do things. It can't just be something where people tell you what to do. I think understanding why you're doing it really adds that long-term success. It's kind of like that old adage, give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. But if you can teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. So that's always our goal, is to teach people how to be healthy for a lifetime. And basic knowledge is the foundation for success. Key number 2 is responsibility. It's your effort, your follow through, your self accountability. And a big part of this is the people that you surround yourself with. Key number 3 is consistency. Not trying to dive into things, head first, everything all at once. We're going to talk a lot about ways to start small and build healthy habits that last a lifetime. So those are the 3 keys: education, responsibility, and consistency. So let's dive into the first one, and that's education. We just said, you can't simply be told what to do. If you're going to get complete buy-in to anything, I think you need to understand how things work and why you should do something. So our goal is going to be, as we dive into this masterclass tonight, to really understand the role that carbohydrates play in the body and why it's okay to eat them and how they help you function on a day-to-day level. So when it comes to macros, I didn't invent macronutrients, right? There are 3. There's proteins, there's carbs, and there's fats. There's not 2, and there's not 1. And together, I like to think of proteins, carbs, and fats like the offense, defense, and special teams for a football team, right? Now, from Nebraska, in recent years, we've struggled a little bit. Maybe in the football level, there's probably times when you think we left our offense at home. But you can imagine if any team, the Super Bowl's this weekend, if the Chiefs and 49ers decided to leave their offense at home, the odds of one of them winning the Super Bowl is going to be slim to none. If one of them left their defense at home, once again, the odds are going to be slim to none. So they each play a very unique role in the body, but together they form an incredible team. All right. So I think that's the first thing. Proteins, carbs, and fats together form a team, and they each have unique roles. Proteins, they're the building blocks, the nuts, the bolts, the framework for our building. Amino acids comprise protein, and those are like the bricks for a building. So complete protein has 20 amino acids. It breaks down into those amino acids as they get digested. And those are things that help you repair. You've heard of collagen, different types of proteins help your body function and grow. We have carbs. This is what we're going to talk about most tonight. They are fuel for your body. It's blood sugar, it's glucose, it's glycogen, probably some of the things that you guys are familiar with. And then fats, hormones, cellular membranes, vitamin absorption. They're also an energy source for your body. So those are macronutrients, and kind of some basic outlines for the functions and the roles that they play in the body. We're going to dive into carbs, right? And we're going to start with something that I think most people in this group are fairly familiar with, and that's blood sugar levels. So normal blood sugar levels are 70 to 99 milligrams per deciliter. So we're going to just not overcomplicate what the milligrams per deciliter means. Just know that somewhere in that 70 to 99 range is what a fasted blood sugar should look like. The road to type 2 diabetes is not something that happens overnight. It's something that takes years to develop, much different from type 1 diabetes. It's very habit-based, things that kind of slowly build over time. And so we get into a pre-diabetic range when our fasted blood sugar is somewhere in that 100 to 125 milligrams per deciliter. Then anything over that is in a diabetic range. So give you some ideas of what we're going to talk about here and where we want to keep blood sugar at. I think of carbs this way, and I think this will be a very easy way for people to understand. So if you want to take a note of this, we have complex carbs and simple carbs. And many of you are probably familiar with complex carbs and simple carbs. But the basic way in which they impact blood sugar is this. It's the rate of digestion. So I like to look at complex carbs like ice cubes. I like to look at simple carbs like crushed ice, or we think that Sonic ice, the really small nuggets or chunks of ice, right? If you put them in a glass of water and you stir them up, complex carbohydrates, or those ice cubes, are going to take a lot longer to digest and break down just because of their surface area. Simple carbohydrates, that crushed ice, will dissolve really quickly. And that's the impact that they have on blood sugar. So to maintain or to help control blood sugar, typically speaking, we aim for complex carbs because they take longer to digest and break down. So don't overcomplicate carbs. This is big, and we're going to give you guys some really cool resources tonight that will help you out with this. But we want to aim for carbohydrate sources that are high in fiber and low in sugar. We want to stay away from all those things in the typical American diet that are very low in fiber and high in sugar. Once you think about when you go to a gas station, it's going to be really hard to find all those fresh foods that are left on the screen here, the sweet potatoes, the veggies, the brown rice, the quinoa, the oats, but everything that's quick and easy to grab, things in a bag, things that have more than one ingredient, processed foods, fast foods, those are all the things that are high in sugar and low in fiber. So don't overcomplicate carbohydrates. High fiber, low sugar are good quality carbohydrates. And if you have your phones there with you, maybe pause this screen if you're watching this on replay, but grab your phones real quick. You can open up your camera app and just scan this QR code. We'll email you 2 free guides, which I think are super handy. We have a healthy food choice guide, which will break down some good quality carbohydrates. And then we'll break down meats and vegetables, some good fiber sources, fat sources for you there. These are PDF guides you can keep on your phone. They will download right into your Files app, or if you're on your computer, just check your downloads folder. But the Healthy Carbohydrate Guide will rank carbohydrates on good, better, and best. The best ones being high fiber and low sugar, right? So I think this will be some really cool guides you can have a tangible copy of and print out, or something to have on your phone. So go ahead and download those. Hopefully that was enough time for you to scan the QR code here. If not, just pause the video for a sec. Okay. So the body does use carbohydrates for fuel. You think about how all this stuff kind of starts to sound similar and tie in together. We have carbohydrates are turned to glucose, which sounds like glycogen, like glycolytic pathway. So our body uses carbohydrates for fuel in that glycolytic pathway. And here's what that looks like. We eat food, okay, protein and carbs get turned into glucose. That is blood sugar, right? Well, insulin, which our pancreas releases, moves glucose to our cells, where it's converted to ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. So let's stop there. Don't get super complicated with this. Just know that when we eat food, carbohydrates mostly, they get turned to glucose, which impacts our blood sugar, right? Simple carbohydrates spike blood sugar faster because they are processed more easily. Complex carbohydrates slowly increase our blood sugar because they break down more slowly. Well, when our body senses, right, a rise in blood sugar, our pancreas releases insulin because the goal that our body has is to get our blood sugar back down to baseline, somewhere in that 70 to 99 milligrams per deciliter range. That's what your body wants to do. So insulin is going to move glucose to your cells. Well, if we're active, we're moving, we're exercising, then we're going to use that for fuel. It's the breaking of a phosphate, so adenosine triphosphate, ATP, 3 phosphates, the breaking off of one leaves 2. It's that breaking of the phosphate that releases energy, and that's how we're able to exercise. Then our body uses food molecules to convert ADP back to ATP. All right, so that's a lot to take in, right? So just know the food we ate gets turned to blood sugar, then our body uses that sugar for fuel, right, via ATP. This is why you'll see athletes on the sidelines drinking Gatorade, right, and not eating oatmeal. So imagine an NBA basketball player. You see LeBron James on the sidelines drinking a Gatorade, Powerade. It's because simply it's sugar. It's sugar water with a few electrolytes added in. But the reason why he will drink that and not eat oatmeal is that it causes a very fast rise in blood sugar. That sugar water gets digested really quickly and it gets delivered to his muscles for instant energy. Kind of like kids having a candy rush at Halloween time. That is a real thing, right? Spike in blood sugar, come back down. Now, I want you to realize that unused glucose gets stored in the muscle as glycogen. And there's an easy way for me to think about this. Imagine that you took a sponge and held it underwater. That sponge is going to fill up with water really, really quickly. But that sponge can only hold so much water. So once I hold it under the faucet, Water runs over it. My sponge is saturated with water. All the rest of the water is going to continue to spill over into the sink. So we eat carbs, they're turned to glucose. Most people lack movement, lack exercise. That glucose then gets stored in our muscles in the form of glycogen. 70% of our glycogen stores in the muscle, the other 30% in the liver. Well, once our muscles are full of glycogen and they can only hold so much, if we keep holding that sponge underwater and letting the water run on it, it's just going to spill over in the sink. The same thing happens to carbohydrates. If our glycogen stores are full, we continue to eat carbs, we don't exercise, don't burn them off, they get stored as fat. So the key is the more active you are, the more carbohydrates you need. Eat enough carbs to keep that sponge, your muscles full of glycogen, so you always have energy, like a tank full of gas, but never so much they essentially spill over and get stored as fat. So to recap, anytime there's a sense in blood or your body senses a rise in blood sugar, pancreas releases insulin to decrease blood sugar. Glucagon is used to increase blood sugar. It takes that stored glycogen back into the bloodstream so you have energy when you don't have that readily available fuel source, right? So taking all that in, we want to understand this. How does it fuel your glycolytic pathway? Well, through exercise, anything we do in that 15-second to 3 to 10-minute interval, somewhere in that neighborhood, right? Carbs turn to glucose for fuel. This is where most people will do exercise. It's weightlifting, it's interval training, it's moving for a few minutes at a time, it's sports where we're really active and then we slow down and rest. That is your glycolytic pathway, which is fueled by carbs. Pathway that you're probably familiar with that you've heard is aerobic exercise. This is your oxidative pathway. In this pathway, we do long sustained exercise, things for 30, 40, 50 minutes at a time. Our main fuel source is going to be fat. 70% of that fuel comes from fat, only 30% from carbohydrates. And there's a reason why. Just imagine that we're out for a slow jog, or we're walking or riding our bike for 30, 40, 50 minutes. You're not trying to go super hard. You're trying to go slowly for a long period of time. We need something that breaks down, that provides more sustainable energy, that doesn't burn quite as quickly. So in carbohydrates and in protein, there's 4 calories per gram. Whereas in fats, there's 9 calories per gram. So no different than those ice cubes with complex and simple carbohydrates, right? Look at fats and carbs the same way. Fats take your body a lot longer to digest. So they're going to be a more slowly digested fuel source, right? So when we go for long sustained exercise, just know that fat will actually power you through aerobic exercise. Carbohydrates power you through that glycolytic pathway. We do short bursts of energy, sports type stuff, weightlifting, high intensity interval training, things along those lines. So very simply, the more active you are, the more carbohydrates you're going to need. So once again, let's bring this all together. Take a big deep breath, make a few notes here, right? The more carbohydrates you eat, the more you're going to need to burn off. So if we're not active, if we're sitting in a desk, if we're not up and moving, we do need to watch our carbohydrate intake. The more active you are, as you ease into exercise, you get going, the more carbohydrates you're going to need to fuel your body, keep muscle on, things along those lines. And we don't want to overcomplicate carbohydrates. We aim for carbs that are high in fiber and low in sugar. All right, so now that you understand carbs, kind of how they impact the body and the role that they play in the body and why they're okay to eat, right? Good quality carbohydrates. How do we begin to make positive changes? So I think this is where maybe some of that mindset stuff is going to take place. So this will be fun to dive into. We've talked about this a lot in this group. I've been on a number of podcasts with Arena, and we've dove into these things, some of the stuff on our Fitness Fridays, but starting with small changes and watching those habits grow over time. Don't do anything all in, all at once, trying to change every habit, right? Start small, we're going to build. So I like to look at it this way. We're going to break down our 4 levels. We've got our foundation way down at the bottom. This is typically the hardest. It's the hardest decisions to make. It's your habits. It's what you do at your very core. Then once we build that very bottom foundation, then we get to that next level, which is better than 70% of people in the United States, right? 70% of Americans are overweight or obese. We get to that 3rd level where we don't really have any medical problems. Eating healthy and being active is just kind of your lifestyle. This is who you are. And then that top level, this is your top 1% of people in the world. This is a fitness level. You're able to do anything you want physically, but it all starts at that foundation. So no matter where you're at, right, we've got to start by pouring into that foundation and changing our daily decisions and our habits. This might be moving 3 to 5 times a week. And I don't care if that's walking, I don't care if that's in an exercise pool, if you're just riding a bike, if it's playing with your grandkids. We just need to move 3 to 5 times a week in some capacity. We don't have to give up sugar, but we're going to reduce added sugar. So this might be something as simple as I'm going to switch from drinking a 44-ounce Pepsi every single day to maybe I'm going to have 1 can of Pepsi every day, to maybe I'm going to have 1 can every other day, or maybe I'm going to switch to Diet Pepsi or something along those lines. Just reduce and cut back on what we're doing, right? We're going to aim for whole foods. Foods are one ingredient. So if you say it out loud, if I say potato or carrot, if it grew in the ground or on a tree, you can eat it. If it had a mother, you can eat it. So chicken, fish, pork, we're going to count eggs in that group. So whole foods, one ingredient foods. We don't have to give up alcohol, but we need to limit alcohol, right? And if we are drinking alcohol, we're going to stay away from added sugary mixers and things like that with it. This is where we start to begin to prioritize ourselves. I'm going to get myself healthy, because once you're healthy for you, you can start to be better for everybody else around you. This is where you might start to prep your meals. Maybe it's not every night during the week, but on Sunday, you take a couple hours to prep meals for Monday and Tuesday. And we begin to say no. There's temptation all around us, but there's also thousands of opportunities to get healthy that we never act on. So saying no to one thing will open up the door to something else. So you don't have to say no to going out to eat with your friends and having a good time. But when you do go out to eat, maybe you say no to the pizza and you opt in for a grilled chicken wrap. Maybe instead of drinking the Crown and Coke, you decide to get Crown on the rocks, or you have one light beer or something along those lines, right? So we're starting to change our general decision making and starting with one habit at a time, right? Once we do that, and once we build that foundation, then we get to the next level. We've established a real baseline. This is where you're better than 70% of Americans. This to me is the bare minimum to live a healthy life. This is where we're starting to do things different. You are prepping your meals every week. You do take Sunday, you've got meal prep containers and you're pouring food into them. You're measuring things, you're tracking your food, and you're not really eating sugar. Not that you don't have a cheat meal once a week, but day in and day out, you're aiming for those carbohydrate sources that are high in fiber and low in sugar. We are taking the time to prep meals again on Wednesday or Thursday. And you're definitely taking the time to make sure that you're set up for success on the weekends, because most people are really good Monday through Friday, and then we struggle on the weekends, right? Now you're starting to work out daily. Maybe you don't go do CrossFit every day. Maybe you're not doing crazy intense exercise, but you are moving every day in some capacity. You do give yourself that one cheat meal a week, right? Not a cheat day, not like a bag of chips, a whole pizza, and ice cream, but we're going to have a cheat meal, right? We're starting to establish a routine. Now we're going to move every day. We're going to start to prep our meals. We're going to take lunch to work, but we're going to let ourselves have a little bit of fun. This would be better than 70% of people in America are doing today, right? So now we're at that second level. We've got our baseline established. Now we're starting to make this a little bit of a routine for ourselves and improve on those habits that we started in phase number one. I want to be clear. It might take some people a month to get those habits established. It might take other people 6 months to a year to get that bottom purple part established. This might be year number 2. This might be month number 4 for some people. To get those habits established, it can take a different amount of time for everybody. But now we get to the next level, and this is where things become a lot of fun. This is where now we're starting to reverse our lifestyle. Remember, type 2 diabetes doesn't happen overnight, right? It's a lot of years of probably bad habit choices and just going down a road that can be hard to dig ourselves out of. So don't expect to turn it around overnight. But if we can take time, build habits, build that lifestyle, get in a routine, now we can get to this level. So maybe this is a couple years down the road, right? And no matter what age you are right now, I know that a couple years can seem a little bit overwhelming, but just think back to a time in your life and where you were fairly healthy, right? Maybe it was high school, maybe it was college, Maybe it's before you were married, before kids, when, kids and family became your priority and work and you started to put yourself aside. Think back to that, right? You can get back there, right? And it won't take you as much time as it took you to get where you're at today, right? We can turn things around. But if we can get you to this top 10%, man, this is where things become really, really cool. This is now your lifestyle. Your friends and the people around you begin to look at you as the healthy person. You just do things without expectation at this point. Now, hey, you are getting up. And you know what? We're not just going to move. We're actually going to exercise. We're going to join a gym. We're going to go work out with our friends. We're going to do it at 5:30 in the morning, right? Workout and nutrition are just a staple. They're just part of our life. Like, there is no more having to make decisions. It's just, hey, this is just what I do. I'm just going to prep my meals. When I go out to eat, yeah, I'm that guy. I just don't drink beer. I just don't order alcohol. You know what? I get the grilled chicken salad with a side of rice when we go out to eat at the bar with friends. At this point, there's no more such thing as 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You've got a job, but you're getting up early before you go to work, right? If you've got kids get ready for school, like I do, that means you're going to the gym at 4:30 or 5 in the morning. You're going back home to get your kids ready for school. You're going to work. You got time for your family at night. No matter what it is, health and wellness are just a part of who you are. And the cool part is you're going to be at very little to no risk for chronic disease. Now, genetics play a role in anything, right? There's always going to be outliers. But the CDC defines 4 risk factors for chronic disease. Number 1, it's excessive alcohol use. Number 2, tobacco use. I think those things are kind of obvious, right? But then number 3 would be a lack of physical activity. And number 4 would be poor nutrition. So if we're at this level, we're not smoking, right? If we do drink, it's very rarely. And we're exercising 5 to 6 days a week with intensity and purpose. And we're eating healthy 90% of the time. People would begin to turn to you for motivation at this point. In this group, there's over 100,000 people, right? Everybody at all different levels of their journey of type 2 diabetes. There's people in this group that have been a part of this for years that can influence and help others. And there's people that are brand new that are just learning things. You at this level are one of those people that's helping others. You're somebody like me that people begin to turn to for advice and motivation, and you will not be like most people. We talked to a group of high school kids this last week, and one of my things for them was they're going to be a culmination of the 3 people that they spend the most time with, right? So at some point in their lives, if they want to go to college and they want to play sports, or at some point in their life, if they want to go be, a student at XYZ university and want to set themselves up for success, they're probably going to have to eliminate the people that are not helping them get there. The kids that are going to go out and party, the kids that are smoking the pot, they're doing things that aren't going to get these athletes and these kids where they want to go in life. They're going to have to cut those people out of their lives. It might feel like at a certain time for them where I'm not into the cool crowd, where I'm doing things that are different. But you know what? They're going to get where they want to go in life. So for you listening to this, yeah, you know what? When you go out to eat with your friends, they might get beer, they might get pizza, they might do things different. You will not be like them. And if your friends aren't going to support you, then those are probably the people that you don't want to spend the majority of your time with, right? And that's a tough pill to swallow. I completely get it. But I want you to accept the fact that when you get here, you're probably doing things different than 70% of people in the world. And that's okay. So get comfortable with that. And finally get to this level. And I know that this level is not for most people, but there are people here that dream of being able to do anything they want physically. I want to be able to go back and play my alumni basketball tournament with all of my friends from high school. Now, I would love to run a marathon someday. I would love to join a CrossFit gym or do a CrossFit competition. I would love to jump on stage and do a bodybuilding competition. At this stage, you're at a fitness level of health. So we have in CrossFit this health and wellness continuum, right? And on one side, we have sickness. And in the middle, we have wellness that's generally healthy. And then on the far other end, we have a fitness level. And that is like the supreme level of health. You're not at risk for chronic disease, right? You're be able to do anything you want. The top 0.001% of people, this is next level type stuff, right? So I think looking back, our goal is going to be this. Start at the very, very, very bottom, right? We're going to pour into those daily habits with one small habit change at a time. The idea being that if you ever want to get to that very top level, it's got to start with the bottom. All right, cool. So that's key number 1, right? There's opportunities everywhere, but it all starts with that very bottom foundation. Okay. Key number 2, responsibility. This is your effort, your follow through, your self accountability, and your friends. All right. I wish that I could give you an easy button. I wish that I could tell you that there's a magic pill to take, not to throw medications out there that people take their doctor prescribed. But I'm going to tell you, long term success, you have to establish some real habits. It's old school stuff. It's getting your nutrition order. It's putting in the work. It's treating yourself like you're an athlete, right? We just go to work every day. There is no way for somebody to get to the NFL or to get to the NBA or to play professional hockey or whatever professional sport is, tennis, no matter what it is. There is no way to get there with an easy button. At some point, if you want to get good at basketball, you have to shoot free throws. You have to practice. There is no button to push. So if we can wrap our heads around that, quit looking for easy answers and shortcuts and different things to do, if we can just realize, hey, it all starts with old school habits, getting my nutrition order, moving and building that foundation, the sooner we can start to get there, right? So no more easy button. We're going to get there with old school habits and real work. And you're going to have to be relentless in your follow through. We deal with people all the time that talk the talk. Hey, Trev, I'm going to get in shape. This can be my time. Think about it every January, right? We just came off of New Year's resolutions. I'm going to do this. I'm going to turn my life around. But if you're going to get where you want to go, if you talk the talk and you got to walk the walk, at some point it's got to be, I'm going to do what I say, and I'm going to absolutely be relentless in my follow through. Now, something you can do here too, you've got buddies in this group, friends that can help hold you accountable. So I want you to be relentless in your accountability to your friends too. If you get with a group of friends and you guys decide, hey, I'm going to get healthy, we're going to make changes, we're going to watch our nutrition, we're going to start to exercise, we're going to go for a walk 3 days a week together. If somebody doesn't show up, you're on the phone calling them. You are being relentless in your follow through for your friends as well. So we're going to talk the talk, we're going to walk the walk together. But at some point, it comes down to self accountability. It can't be, hey, Bob didn't show up to meet me for my walk, so I didn't go. You still go on that walk. You walk right by Bob's house and knock on his door, right? But ultimately, it's you and it's yourself that are responsible for your actions. So once again, in our gym, we talk about this with our kids all the time. Our second core value that we have in our gym is control your effort. And imagine on a sports team, right? So often you see bickering amongst players and teammates fighting and things. But we always tell them, you know what, if each athlete just did everything they could individually, 110% of their effort from top to bottom. They're not on their phone at night, right? They're not going out partying. They're doing extra in practice. They're practicing on their own. They're going home. They're doing their homework early. They're getting to bed at 9 o'clock at night. They're getting up at 5 a.m. and hitting the gym. If every person on a team took care of themselves to 110% and didn't worry about anybody else is doing, and if everybody did that individually, the team would have some great success, right? Because ultimately, you can't control the actions of others. So while you need a group of friends and it's awesome to hold each other accountable, at some point, your life is determined by you. So when we learn to accept that responsibility, hold ourselves accountable, look ourselves in the mirror, there's one thing we're not doing, and that's not making excuses, right? Hey, I'm going to hold myself accountable. I'm going to get my life in order. I'm going to do this. And that's that self-determination. That's that relentless accountability to yourself that's going to get you to that next level. So kind of touched on earlier, right? Got to choose your friends wisely. There's a great support system of humans in this group. And I want you to reach out. I want you to find that 3 or 4 other people are on the same journey that you're on, right? And if there's people in your lives that are not supporting you and that aren't headed in the same direction that you are, at some point you've got to cut them out, right? And that might be hard to do, but I want you to really choose your friends wisely because you are going to be a culmination of the people that you spend the most time with, right? All right. Key number 3, consistency. Don't try to do everything all at once. Start very small and build healthy habits that last a lifetime. So looking at this graph, right? One small change at a time. It's kind of like investing money, right? Small investments don't seem like a lot. Like if you've done this before, I remember growing up, I had a teacher at one point, she asked me a question in school. It was, hey, would you rather get a penny that doubles every day for 1 month or have me hand you $1 million right now, right? Of course, you know what that back end is going to look like. There's got to be some trick to it. But if you think about those first 10 days, it's 1 cent, then it's 2, then it's 4, then it's 8, then it's 16 cents, 32 cents, 64 cents, We're at $1.28, $2.56. We're at just over $5, $5.12 after 10 days. We're a third of the way in. And it's like, man, I just got $5 in the bank account. That's not very cool, right? But now look at what happens. 5 turns into 10, 10 turns into 20, 20 turns into 40, 40 turns into 80. And if you guys keep going on throughout the last part of this, can't remember where the numbers end up at, but you get to those last few days, right? Days 28, 29, 30, maybe 31 in some months. And that $1 million all of a sudden becomes $10 million, right? So it seems like very small changes up front that aren't moving the needle a whole lot. If you give it enough time, you're going to get to a whole different place from where you're at right now. So I'd encourage you to do something like this. We talk about this all the time, getting a 365-day calendar, putting it up somewhere where you're able to see all 365 days all the time. Pick one thing. It might be Trev, I'm not going to drink any more soda pop at all, but I'm going to start with today. You focus on one day at a time. Don't try to take in the whole year. Don't even say to yourself, I'm giving up pot for the whole year. I'm just giving up soda today. Put a red X on the calendar. Boom. If you did it today, do it. Done. Red X on the calendar. Tomorrow morning you wake up. Do everything in your power to not drink pop tomorrow. Tomorrow night rolls around, put a red X on the calendar. One change at a time. You get a year out of drinking no pop, none at all. And you look up that calendar. It's a pretty cool feeling, right? So once you've got that established, maybe it's the same thing with exercise. Maybe you get 3 months in and you've got 3 months of red X's for exercise. You're gonna have a red X and a green circle, right? And now we're gonna add in that exercise piece with the not drinking soda. So little habits, one change at a time. If you give it long enough, they're going to exponentially change your life. I want to focus on helping others. So what I found out is that when I poured my heart and soul into focusing on others, I think it did more for me than what it actually did for them, right? So when you begin to reach out, when you begin to hold other people accountable, when you begin to help others, by default, you're going to be doing the same things that you're helping them do, right? So from the goodness of your heart, take it upon yourself to call a buddy up. Hey, I know you're struggling. Hey, how about this weekend we meal prep together? How about you and I go out to eat and we just go enjoy it like a good coffee and we get an egg white omelet, right? With a side of fruit, something along those lines. Let's go do that together. Hey, are you struggling with your health and wellness today? Let me be there for you. Let me be a shoulder for you to lean on, right? When you pour your energy into other people, I think you'll be amazed at what it does for you and how it holds you accountable in that process. All right. So we found the 3 keys to success, but there's 3 C's. And this will be kind of how we wrap up our talk tonight, right? So write these things down, 3 C's. The first one is competence. If you want to really get where you want to go from a health and wellness journey, to really understanding carbohydrates, understanding nutrition, understanding food and how it impacts your body, the first thing you need to do is become competent in nutrition. So this is a lot to take in tonight, right? Especially the first half of this video. And what you do is maybe go back and rewind this a couple times. If you can become competent and understand how food works in your body and the way it affects it, if you're able to speak about it eloquently to somebody else, right? That's the key. That is the education piece. Let's get the education piece in order. Now, we've got some really cool courses, which I'll share with this group over time. We have an adult nutrition course, a student nutrition course, which is fun and interactive, things used for corporate wellness and in high schools that we can get out to you guys. So whatever it is, maybe there's a different course, maybe you go back to school, whatever it is, you got to learn about food and learn about health and wellness first. Become competent in it. When you get that education piece down, that's going to lead to confidence. So if you can explain to 3 or 4 other people how carbohydrates work in the body and why they're not all bad and why it's okay to eat them, and the more you exercise, the more you need, and why when we go grocery shopping, we aim for foods and carbohydrate sources that are high in fiber and low in sugar. When you can speak about that with confidence, right, that means you believe in it. And that belief is going to lead to conviction. Conviction means that you believe in something. So I don't go into talks like this, or I don't work with people kind of being half sold on an idea, right? I don't go into it like, you know what, the way we coach nutrition, good old school habits, like it might work for some people, it might not. I don't really know, but I'm going to tell you. It's like, no, look, I've seen this for thousands of people. I personally worked with hundreds in my gym. I've tracked all the data through LifeBase. We have the data for tens of thousands of people going back a decade. we know that this stuff works, and we can prove and we know that people will lose body fat, that they will gain or maintain muscle and improve their water ratios by eating a good, well-balanced diet with the right amount of food at the right time. Like, I know that. You could not convince me otherwise, but it's because I've seen it thousands and thousands of times. So being competent in understanding food, having the confidence to speak about it, seeing it in my own life, and then having taught other people how to do it 1,000 times and seeing those results, that leads to the conviction and to the belief where I can speak about it with passion, right? So conviction and passion is what will lead to your success. I want you guys to do this. When I speak with athletes, it's always, hey, you know what? If there's 2 seconds left in the game, your team's down by 1 point. It's a basketball game, and somebody's got to take that final shot. Who do you want it to be? What I'm looking for out of that athlete is I want them to say, Trev, I want the ball in my hands, right? I want to be the one to take that shot, right? I want them to have absolute conviction, belief in themselves, and passion on a whole nother level. I want them to believe in themselves. So the same thing with this group. When it comes to health and wellness, don't rely on anybody else. I want you to bet on yourself. I want you to become passionate about yourself and your approach to your lifestyle, turning your life around, getting healthy. And I want you, when you look in the mirror, when somebody asks you, hey, if you're going to get healthy, is it got to be something else? You know what? No, I can do this on my own. I absolutely can do this. I'm going to bet on me. I know that I'm going to get healthy. I want to help you guys get to that point. So that's our talk tonight, guys. That's our Carbohydrate Masterclass. I think we've covered a lot of things. How to control blood sugar, right? Carbohydrates that are complex in nature, that are high in fiber, low in sugar. That's going to help you increase energy levels, always having your glycogen stores full, always having a full tank of gas, right? If you do it the right way and eat the right amount of carbs to fuel you for exercise, along with proteins and fats at the same time, because they're like offense, defense, and special teams for football team. They all have a unique role in the body, right? You can really reduce body fat and improve your body composition and get healthy while eating carbohydrates, just the right ones in the right amounts at the right times. And those 3 keys to success: education, responsibility, choosing your friends wisely, and being very consistent with small habit changes. So guys, I want to say thank you tonight. I really did enjoy being here. I think we'll do this again next month. If you have questions, reach out to me at trevor@lifebasedsolutions.com or check out our website at lifebasedsolutions.com. I appreciate it. I'm excited for the future. Have a great night, guys.